Hello everyone, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to the Thursday Interesting Times. Why not? I've done it for every other day of the week. This is a show that looks at the ridiculousness of UK politics and asks, are they having a laugh? Just to let you know that yes, yesterday did give us all some terrible, horrible and dreadful news, but don't worry, this is your safe space. I guarantee you a free reporting zone. Let's get to it. Now, I'm sure I might have mentioned it, Kemi Badenoch is now Conservative leader, which is great news for the I'm not a racist, some of my worst leaders are black brigade. And it's very much the case of start as you mean to go on, as one of her first ports of calls involves sitting down with Laura, Conservative with a K, Koonsberg.
So when you are telling the truth, what's the truth about what went wrong with Boris Johnson? Was it honesty?
The public thought that we were no longer speaking for them or looking out for them. We were in it for ourselves. Some of those things I think were perception issues. A lot of the stuff that happened around Partygate was not why I resigned. I thought that it was overblown.
Yes, she really did say that Partygate, which, if you've forgotten, and it looks like 50% of that interview has, was the government telling everyone that meeting with others in different households was not allowed. And we were facing a loss of life in this country not seen since the Spanish flu outbreak some 100 years earlier. That the government not following the government's law was blown out of proportion, begging the question of someone wanting to run the country, what's in proportion? And Kemi hasn't hung around. She's already assembled her shadow cabinet team. Dead-enders, assemble! It's like a who's who of who? Shadow cabinet? It's not even a bedside cabinet. So, here is a couple of pictures from their first meeting. So, who's making up the gaff squad? Well, there are some newbies here, but some old wise heads as well, who will be able to show them the Conservative principles and values their new leader has spoken of. Priti Patel is the new Shadow Foreign Secretary, and you're probably thinking, wasn't she the actual old Secretary of State for International Development? Yes, where following undisclosed meetings with Israeli officials, she came back and attempted some illegal lobbying on their behalf. Then there's also Laura Trott, who's now Education Secretary, which of course involves the 3 R's. Reading, writing and being really, really, really bad at maths.
What is puzzling me is how you can be even talking about tax cuts when a central pledge is getting debt down and debt is going up.
So the central pledge is one of our fiscal rules, which is that debt needs to be falling over the 5-year fiscal forecast as a percentage of GDP, which it is.
No, it's higher in 5 years than now.
Not as a percentage of GDP.
Yeah, no, it's higher. It's higher in 5 years than now.
It's falling as a percentage of GDP.
No, it's higher as a percentage of GDP.
I'm not sure. I think.
Well, this is really basic.
And Mark Francois, who has, I would love to say I'm making this up, been made Shadow Defence Minister, and who, in the actual House of Commons, used a racial slur against the Japanese. And Robert Jenrick, who has been involved in a scandal and more than just a whiff of impropriety, as he was sacked. How do I know this? Because Kemi Badenoch said this about him last week, before this week making him the Justice Secretary. And Chris Philp is the new shadow leader of the House of Commons. Ah, Chris. What can I say about Chris?
You are a liar.
If I was to summon up
It's a lie.
Chris
lying
in
You're a liar.
just
So lied.
one
You are a liar.
word.
You're lying.
Got it. Weird. So, for those keeping score, you got sacked, thick, racist,
A liar.
or as Kemi likes to call it, representing Conservative values and principles. But the Tories have also got a Welsh problem. Since the July election, the Tories have been wiped out in Wales. And so, who do you appoint as Welsh Affairs spokesman? Why, Mims Davies, of course. Even though she's actually the MP for East Grinstead and Uckfield in West Sussex, which is some 200 miles away. I'm guessing she got appointed due to the fact that out of all the Conservatives to point to Wales on a map, she was the closest. And also, she's got a bit of a Welsh-sounding name. And that has to be the second most embarrassing thing the Conservatives have had involving Wales in their history. Oh, the first? Well, that would be the Tory MP and logicalist Falcon, John Redwood, who in 1993 was made Secretary of State for Wales despite being MP for Wokingham, and was then sent to Cardiff, the capital of Wales, to sing the Welsh national anthem in Welsh. And for those that are thinking that they know what the gaffe might be, you're right, And it is funnier than anything you've got in your head. Enjoy. So on to Kemi Badenoch's first Prime Minister's questions, and she was raring to go.
Mr. Speaker, can I begin by congratulating President-elect
No, not today.
I would like to start by congratulating President-elect Trump.
Stop it. First order of business.
The Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary met him in September. Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath?
Okay, does that count? She sort of mentioned but I'm sure I can bleep his name out of it. Brilliant. I've stuck to my promise. There you go. She could be talking about any woman-hating neo-Nazi sociopath that got elected yesterday. I mean, she could be talking about 60% of her cabinet. The other 40% being women-hating women neo-Nazi sociopaths. So Kemi got to work exposing Labour's lies.
The last Conservative government committed to raising defence spending to 2.5% by 2030. Will the Prime Minister finally match this commitment? Mr. Speaker, he will not make that commitment, and yet the world is getting more dangerous. His Chancellor's budget did not even mention defence.
It was actually mentioned 4 times.
There is no more important job for government than to keep our country safe. And we are conducting a strategic defence review to be published next year. And as set out in our manifesto, we will set a path to spending 2.5% of GDP on defence at a future fiscal event. Today, I am announcing a total increase to the Ministry of Defence's budget of £2.9 billion next year. Last week, alongside my Right Honourable friend, the Defence Secretary, I announced in addition to this, further support to Ukraine.
Okay, so I could be all, oh great, the Tories have got a moron at the helm. Brilliant and hilarious. The problem is that she is now the leader of His Majesty's opposition. It is a role that carries a great deal of responsibility, and it is her responsibility to hold this government to account over high taxes, cost of energy and food, essentially the cost of living. I mean, why don't the Tories mention that? Yeah, okay. I'd leave it for a few years if I were you. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this vid, then subscribe. Do it now, right there. And like and comment and share and hit all the notifications bells so you make sure you don't miss another. And I'll see you Sunday. Take care.